name is Dr. Sagar. I'm a chartered psychologist in the United Kingdom. In this video, I'm going to talk about fear of failure and tell you why people who fear failure are typically unhappy people and are prone to mental illness. I'm going to explain what fear of failure is, what exactly we fear about failure, how fear of failure develops, and then finish off by looking at how we can overcome fear of failure. Fear of failure is common in achievement domains such as education, work, business, sport, stage performance, and so on. In those domains, there are constant pressure on us and expectations of us to perform well and to achieve success. Success could be achieving high grades, winning sporting competition, succeeding in a work task, and so on. And our performance and achievements in these domains are assessed and evaluated by people who are important to us or people that can affect our future career and progression. These are, for example, our parents and family, our teachers. In sport and stage performance, it can also be the audience. At work, it could be our line manager, our boss, and even our colleagues. So what is fear of failure? But first, let's look at what success and failure mean. Success and failure are defined as the attainment or not of a goal that people set for themselves to achieve, regardless of what the goal is, how high or low it is, or how realistic or not it is. So success and failure are subjective perceptions. For example, if one sets a goal to become a CEO of the company within 5 years and works really hard towards it, but doesn't achieve it within 5 years, that person could perceive it as failure. But if that person does achieve their goal and becomes the CEO within the 5 years, then the person perceives it as success. Fear of failure is the tendency or the inner voice that drives people to avoid failure in achievement domains. This avoidance tendency typically prompts people to adopt avoidance goals when facing a task, such as procrastination, not putting effort into a task, or even not carrying out the task at all. So people who fear failure focus their thoughts and efforts on how to avoid failure. This avoidance tendency exerts harmful effects on their health and well-being and hinders their performance and their achievements and progressions in life. As I said, fear of failure is common, and most of us fear failure, but the level and the intensity of the fear differ between individuals. High fear of failure is debilitating, and on this slide, you can see some of the negative psychological effects of fear of failure. These are common among people who are fearful of failure, and it makes life very difficult for them and actually leads to their failure. So what is it about failure that we fear? We fear consequences of failure that we perceive to be threatening to us. And it is the anticipation of failure and of its aversive negative consequences that elicits our fear. So we don't fear failure per se, but we fear the aversive consequences of our failure. For example, failing an exam is not a problem if it doesn't trigger negative consequences. But if failing the exam means that I will not be able to progress in my study and will be removed from the course, then the consequences of failing the exams are scary for me because it means that I will not be able to obtain the degree that I need to get the job that I want. And I will not be able to develop the career that I want. And this will then impact my financial situation and my living standards and so on and so forth. So the fear is not about failing the exam per se, but the fear is about the negative consequences that I perceive that I will have to face if I fail the exam. What if are typical thoughts and ruminations of people who fear failure? What if I fail the exam? What if I fail the job interview? What if my application gets rejected? What if I don't come first in the race? And so on and so forth. These what if thoughts and ruminations are signs that the person is highly worried about failing and about the negative consequences of failing. hence fearing failure. This tendency to ruminate and anticipate threatening consequences of failure is a disposition, a personality trait. So people high in fear of failure will typically feel this way across achievement domain, not in just one and not the other, but across achievement domain. So they would be fearful of failure in school, then at university, then in the workplace, and so on. Psychology research shows that there are 5 consequences of failure that people consider aversive and fear. People fear experiencing shame and embarrassment upon failure. This relates to belief that others will judge me negatively if I fail, and failure will be humiliating for me. They also fear losing social value. This relates to beliefs that if I fail, I will lose my influence and value in the achievement domain, which is my school, my sport, or my workplace. That is, other people will not respect me if I fail, and they will view me as useless and not capable. The fear of devaluing self-estimates relates to the belief that I will devalue myself if I fail and think less of myself because failure will signify to me that I am incompetent, I'm useless, and I have poor ability and control over my performance. So fearing the consequence that I will devalue myself if I fail. Fear of having an uncertain future relates to beliefs of losing future opportunities, for example, to get another job or get a promotion or get new clients, or even losing current clients if I fail. Or in the case of athletes, it can be a fear of losing funding and invitations to future competitions and events if I fail. The last fear is of upsetting others. It relates to beliefs that important others will disapprove of me if I fail, and subsequently I will lose their love and affection. So we can see that fear of failure is a function of our interactions with ourselves and other people, and it reflects our fear of these 5 consequences that we perceive will be harmful to us if we fail. There are several symptoms of fear of failure, or we can think of them as strategies that people use in order to avoid failing. Not investing any effort in the task or simply just avoiding it. So, for example, revising too little or too late for an exam and not putting effort into it will explain my failure, and I and others will not attribute my failure to my inability and incompetence. Another symptom of fear of failure is cheating. Cheating in order to avoid failure and to get ahead. This gives the person only a temporary relief from the anxiety and the fear of failing, but little satisfaction in their achievement. They might choose easy tasks to ensure success, so they avoid difficult tasks and challenges. Or they might choose difficult tasks to ensure failure, so that they don't get criticized or judged as inadequate or incompetent. And there is no shame or loss of dignity when failing at a difficult task because everybody knows that it's a difficult task. Or they might strive extremely high and put excessive effort and work all hours of the day and beyond the capability to guarantee success and avoid failure. This often leads them to exhaustion and burnout. So it's important to realize that lack of effort or excessive effort are both symptoms of fear of failure. So the next question is, how does fear of failure develop? Fear of failure, or the tendency to avoid failure, develops at an early age through childhood experiences and cues and messages that children receive from their environment. And this tendency to fear failure stays with them into adulthood. The development of fear of failure in children is associated with parental behavior. Parental own fear of failure influences the way they view failure and the way that they respond to their own and their child's failure. So through their responses, actions, and behaviors, parents actually teach their children the meaning and values associated with different achievement outcomes. Parents typically reward their child for success, but not for failure. My research shows that when parents are controlling and are over-involved in their child's performance and have very high expectations of them and set high goals for them to achieve, and respond negatively and with punitive action when their child doesn't meet their expectations and goals. It teaches their child to associate failure with undesirable negative consequences that they appraise as a threat to them. So they become fearful of failure because they fear these consequences. And this is how fear of failure develops in the child. So parental behaviors and responses around their child's performance and achievements are key factor in the development of fear of failure in their child at an early age. In all the cases that I have studied, the parents genuinely believed that their behaviors would help their child achieve success and avoid failure. They didn't realize that it was a problematic behavior that contributed to their child to become fearful of failure. The good news is that we can overcome fear of failure. Research has shown that psychotherapy that challenges irrational beliefs and perceptions about consequences of failure can help reduce the intensity of the fear and help people cope better and progress in their lives and achievements rather than remain stuck and consumed by their fear of failure. Psychotherapy can help them to reframe failure as an opportunity to learn, grow, and develop rather than perceive failure as final and as something to be ashamed of and as an indication that they are useless and incompetent. So psychotherapy can help them to reassess their perceptions and assumptions and learn to accept that if they try again, they can succeed after failure, and that it is common for successful people to experience failures along the way, and that it is unrealistic to succeed in everything all of the time. People high in fear of failure are also perfectionists, so psychotherapy can help reduce the intensity of their fear of failure and perfectionistic tendencies and help them move forward in their lives. Perfectionism and negativity bias are closely related to fear of failure, so you might want to watch my videos on perfectionism and negativity bias on my YouTube channel. I would like to end with an inspiring quote from the British entrepreneur Sir Richard Branson. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible: the fear of failure. Well, with this attitude, it's not surprising that he is a highly successful businessman, despite suffering numerous failures along the way. But he never let them stop him from achieving his dreams and his goals. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you found it useful. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.